It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Tim Needles. Tim is an author, educator, creator, and just an all-around great guy, and a Long Island NYSCATE board member. Tim?
Hey, so welcome. I have been a teacher for 25 years, and I have to tell you, it's still something that I work at every single day. I remember my first day teaching. I don't know how many of you remember your first day, but it was pretty stressful. So, it's equal parts excitement and anxiety, and I'm wearing a shirt and tie for the first time in my life. I came from a blue-collar family, and I have a leather briefcase because that's what my parents believe, like that's what teachers have. It was filled with everything that I thought I might need. And I started walking out to my car, and the sprinklers came on. And it just totally drenched me in water, and it was a good metaphor for that first year of teaching. So all of my expectations about teaching were just totally wrong. I wanted to get up on a chair and say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." And, I was teaching, I was doing what I thought a teacher should do, I was giving homework, and there was just no excitement. The kids just were not reacting, so it was difficult. And I started to feel like a failure, and that's tough. Especially as the second week and the third week and the second month go on, and I start to feel like a fraud. And I'm afraid someone's gonna walk in and say, "I'm sorry, this is not your job, we're gonna have to find someone else." And so I thought back to the teachers that I had that really made a difference to me. And what was it that those teachers did? And I remembered, in second grade and in third grade, I had really good teachers. And I felt invisible in elementary school. I loved the learning, but I didn't have really close friends at the time, and it just was kind of a miserable experience. And I think my teacher knew that, and she gave me an assignment. She said, "I want you to write a letter, but write it to someone who you really care about in your family." So I come from a family that's not particularly good at expressing emotion, right? We show things through action. There's 2 I love yous I remember in my entire early years. And I wrote a letter to my grandmother because she was the warmest. She was comfortable to be around, and she was really affectionate, and she was a mother of 6. So, I wrote her a letter, and I was really careful about talking a little bit about myself, but asking her questions. And I have to tell you, it made a difference. For the first time in my life, I feel like I had a voice. And, I was really careful about my penmanship, because in elementary school, that was all the rage, that was what was really important. And 2 weeks later, I got back a letter. And it's like a gift when you get a written letter from someone. Now I get bills, but a written letter is important. And not only did I have voice, but I found that I could communicate. Because I come from a family that's a big family, I never was able to express my entire idea. I was always getting cut off. So in a letter, I could write everything and express myself, and then hear back from someone else. So I learned about my grandmother, I learned about her growing up in Brooklyn, and before she was a mom, how she worked for the FBI, which I had no idea about, and was really exciting. And it was I finally found this way to kind of connect with someone. And I started writing everyone. I wrote all my neighbors on the street, all my relatives, and then I started writing just other random people. I wrote the Hard Rock Cafe. That was my favorite place at the time. I had never been there. I said, "I can't wait to go." They made me an honorary staff member, sent back a t-shirt that said staff. And I wore that shirt at least every other day for the rest of that year. And if anyone from the 80s knows the Hard Rock, it's that was a serious shirt. And then we're learning about politics. And I decided to write Mario Cuomo, the governor. And, I told him I was honored for his service, and how we're learning about politics and how interesting it was. And I told him that the cars in my block were going a little bit too fast and that it was dangerous. Right? So, just like a lot of my other letters, I sent it out. A couple weeks later, I get a kind of a form letter and a signed 8x10 glossy, which is pretty cool. I was probably the only kid with a Mario Cuomo image hanging up in my class. But it was exciting. And I didn't think much of it. I kept on writing my letters. And 2 weeks later, I'm out in front of my house, and a white car pulls up. I'm playing catch, and a police officer comes out. And he says, "I'm looking for Tim Needles." And I'm in elementary school. This is really frightening. I'm like, "Well, I'm Tim Needles." And he said, pulled out a wad of papers, and I see my letter to the governor. And he said, "So cars are going too fast past your house?" And I could tell from his body language, he's like, "What am I doing here talking to an elementary school?" So I was afraid, he's not going to believe me. And then, by a stroke of luck, a car whizzes by at 70 miles per hour. And he sees it, and he says, "All right, we'll see what we can do." It took 2 weeks, and the first stop sign was put in on my block. And we have double yellow lines. All the neighbors hated me. It added at least 5 minutes to the commute, but it showed me that not only did I have a voice, I could actually do something with it, right? And this one assignment, probably led to me writing a book later on as an adult. It helped me find my place. So when I think back to those days of what kept me in teaching, I realize that when you're a teacher and you can connect with a student and you can make a difference in their life, it changes everything. You're hooked. And that's really what kept me in it. I started making these rules for myself as a teacher. My first thing was really focusing on connection, because I think that's the most important thing we do as teachers, we connect. And those teachers that were great, they connected with me. And my first rule is to show you care. It's not enough to care. I think we all care. Everyone is here because we care. But you need to show you care. And it's not an easy thing to do. Different kids, you have to show them different ways. Sometimes it's quality time, sometimes it's quantity time. When people show up to games, when you have conversations about things out of school, it makes a difference, That's the love that we give as teachers and professionals. My second rule is be real. And I know many of you are good at this too. This is what saved me that first year. I was failing so much, I just started to be myself, and now I can't help it. So students have a radar for real. There's no question, when it's authentic, it makes a difference. So I can't really help being authentic. I try to share that with the students. And when you have fun in the classroom, you have whimsy, it really makes a big difference. My third rule, and this is a big one, is model it, right? As educators, we need to show what we care about. I'm an art teacher, I love art. I love making art, I love going to see art. Gotta go to the art museum over here. It's doing that shows my passion. It shows that I'm authentically interested in what I'm teaching. And students react, even if they don't care about art. It makes a difference. So we also need to model our failures, right, and show them how we persevere. And I think all of this is what makes great teachers. So when I have an art show, I show them the whole process. It's all a learning opportunity. When it works, when it doesn't work, and how it works. And this is a big one, value connection over curriculum. We're taught curriculum is the most important thing. It's not. Thank you. Curriculum is the second most important thing. If you don't connect with students, they're never going to care about the curriculum, right? So when you see a kid 20 years after you taught in the food store, they come over to you. They don't come over to you because you taught them history. They come over to you because you connected with them, you cared, and then you taught them history. And I think that connection is what makes a difference in education. It's what makes our job great. When you have those difficult days, it's important to remember that. And the fifth one, and maybe the most important, is to be mindful of the impact you have as an educator, right? This one lesson this teacher gave me changed my life. We have that opportunity every single day. You can make a difference in a kid's life. You might not even know you're making a difference. But if you're having a tough Tuesday, it's important never to, show that to the students, because they're sensitive. You don't know what that's going to be 20 years later, right? So we have a responsibility. We have an opportunity to change lives every single day. And I think showing all of these things really makes a difference in my career, and I know for many of you too. So I'd like to end like I end all of my classes with a phrase I came up with: be kind, be creative, and change the world. Thank you.